Hello, I'm Judith Jensen, Director of Educational Solutions. Welcome to Saving Salmon, bringing Sea Shasta back into balance. This program is the story of science in action, taking on a complex ecological problem set in the contentious Klamath River basin, where the conflict over water has often been framed as farms versus fish. How science works is often misunderstood. We enjoy the results, but are too often impatient with the process. In this video, you will see physically challenging patient observation in the field, wrong turns, and stunning discoveries based on current genetics, all on the slow road to solving the problem of Sea Shasta, a lethal salmon parasite that infects juvenile salmon as they migrate down the Klamath River to the ocean. We focus on Jerry Bartholomew's productive laboratory at Oregon State University.
I work on diseases of salmon and trout, and I'm particularly interested in parasites that cause disease in wild fish populations. Ceratomyxa shasta, or Sea Shasta as we shorten the name, and this is a parasite that infects the intestine of salmon and trout. This parasite is found only in the Pacific Northwest, and in the 1990s it became evident that it was causing high mortality in populations of juvenile Chinook and coho salmon in the Klamath River. In some years, 60 to 90% of juvenile Chinook salmon are infected by Sea Shasta as they migrate out to the Pacific Ocean, and many of these fish will die from this infection. This disease is important because salmon populations are endangered throughout the Pacific Northwest, and the extra burden of disease means that fewer juvenile fish will make it to the ocean, fewer will be available to harvest, and fewer will return to the river to spawn.
I caught my first commercial salmon, sold my first salmon in 1970. We used to fish pretty much wide open, a lot of hatchery fish. Last 10 years or so, we've been pretty much constrained by the Klamath River. It's pretty much governed our lives as far as where we can fish and when we can fish. And we're finding out through Dr. Bartholomew's research that the disease mortalities that are taking place in the river have a lot to do with how productive the river is. And if we can find the answers to what's causing the high mortality rates in the river on our Chinook salmon, if we can get Klamath River back into production or anywhere close to what it was historically, there might be a future for our industry. We're hoping anyway.
And my vision is to have a healthy Klamath River with healthy salmon runs and healthy communities. And the beauty of that, of course, is that to have a healthy salmon river, a healthy salmon in the river, and a healthy river requires that we have good relationships with each other and with the land, and that we can be thriving just as the salmon thrive.
We're not really sure why the parasite is such a problem in the Klamath, but we know that something is out of balance. In most rivers, the native fish have evolved resistance to the disease, allowing them to survive these infections. But in the Klamath River, the parasite numbers are so high that the fish are overwhelmed and die from the infections.